Afternoon, Cherries fans, and welcome to our latest opposition preview show ahead of the cold Tuesday night game against Stoke, following our 2-0 victory against Bristol City at Ashton Gate. Now, before I welcome in my guest, here is a bit about our sponsors, Dental on the Banks. To find out a little bit more about what they do, just visit dentalonthebanks.co.uk and it will bring up all the details that you need. Now, to preview this game today, it is a pleasure to welcome onto the show the founder of the YYY-Files, Ben Rowley. How you doing, Ben?
Good afternoon. Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, I'm good. A little bit disappointed after the last game, but on the whole, it's a great time to be a Stoke fan at the moment. So yeah, positive.
Excellent stuff. Firstly, do tell us a little bit about the YYY-Files and what you do.
Yeah. Okay. So primarily, it's a podcast, and I interview Stoke City fans. It's not your regular football podcast. We talk about each fan's journey, relationship, and experience with the club. I guess it's a bit like Piers Morgan's life stories, but just for Stoke fans.
Oh,
So yeah, that's it. You hear so many great stories, and it's nice sometimes, particularly when you're not playing well, to be talking about some positive things and reflecting back on old times instead.
excellent. Well, you have been playing well so far this season, and you've been looked very, very good. You're sitting fifth in the league. What's changed from the last couple of seasons?
We've had a clear out, to be honest. I don't know whether you've seen in the summer. I think we made 15 senior exits, which was huge. We had a lot of deadwood back from the Premier League on a lot of wages, and we couldn't get rid of them. We kept loaning them out to like Turkey, Saudi Arabia, sometimes other clubs in the Championship as well. Um, and they were just a dead weight round our necks, and it was bringing down the atmosphere of the club, and we weren't able to bring in the players that we wanted. Uh, they were all on the last year of their contracts as we entered this transfer window, and seems like we've lined them all up like ducks in a row, and we were able to go to the club that was willing to loan them. Basically, you get them on a free at the end of the season. So essentially, these players were all on free transfers. So off they went. We were able to bring in a couple of players that we actually wanted through the sale of Nathan Collins for about 12 to 15 million, I think. And it's really helped. Finally, Nathan Jones, not Nathan Jones, Michael O'Neill, is able to do what he wants with this squad, clearing out some of the players that Nathan Jones, Gary Rowett, and even Mark Hughes bought back in that time, back when we were both in the Premier League. So,
Yeah.
We're a completely different team, and that's what's helped.
Fantastic. You were the first team to beat West Brom, and you are undefeated at home and have won all of them, apart from a draw with Barnsley. I'm a bit worried about this game. I'll be perfectly honest. It's a cold, wet, windy night in Stoke. Are we right to be worried?
Yeah, I'd say so. I wouldn't. I'm trying not to be too boastful as a Stoke fan, but I think, 10 years or so ago, the Britannia Stadium, as it was a fortress and known to be. We were terrible away from home back in the early Premier League days, and Britannia Stadium was where we got all our points from. that trend has gone away in the last few seasons for whatever reason. I think the fans getting on the players' backs didn't help.
Mhm.
But after coronavirus and fans being back in stadiums and just willing to urge the team on, plus the transformation of the squad and the manager, it we look sensational at home. We really do. Ever since the first game against Reading to the last game against West Brom, we looked incredible. That game against Barnsley you mentioned, I think the expected goals for that game was 3 to Stoke and 0 point something to Barnsley as well. We hammered them, absolutely hammered them,
Mhm.
and we were well deserving of winning that game. It's a shame we didn't, partly due to poor finishing from players like Sam Surridge, actually missing from 6 yards out a couple of times, missing a penalty as well. So it's a shame. Did he miss a penalty that game? Maybe it was somebody else. I think it was Vrancic who missed a penalty that game. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked.
Yeah.
Yes, we are good at home. We are very good at home. And I alluded to the disappointing result yesterday against Sheffield United. Um, we're away from home, so I think it's fair enough to say that it's not going to affect our game too much at home. On Sky as well. So one of us has
Yeah.
a chance to embarrass ourselves here.
Yeah, exactly. And to be honest, we played Sheffield United fairly recently, and they were the first team to actually score first against us. And it was great that we made that comeback. But they are a good side. Could you say that they're in a false position? I think their start of the season was quite poor, but it's now picked up. Can anybody do it on a Tuesday night in Stoke?
Um, yeah, of course they can. Plenty of teams have done in the past. You've got to be good. You've got to be on your
Yeah,
game. Um, sometimes we're not on our game particularly. You know, if we have injuries, which we have, um, yes, absolutely, people can beat us at home. And I think actually, if you score early, that's the trend this season. Stoke has scored early in most of their games, and
mm,
it's mean that the crowd, whether it be home or away, our away support's been fantastic this season, as you'd expect after a
yeah,
pandemic. Um, we've rode the wave since. In fact, I think I think yesterday was the first time that we lost from a winning position this season. Um, so normally at home we score first and we score early, and that gets the crowd going, silences the away fans, and that's it. Bit more nervy against West Brom, as you might have seen on TV, as we left it
yeah.
late. But um, yeah, I think the key to beating us is scoring early.
We are two very similar sides in that sense because we normally score early. We normally sit back a little bit in the second half. But do you think the key to this game, or do you think it's going to be a bit like against West Brom, where it is a bit cagey, and it's just going to take one moment of brilliance to actually change the result?
I think possibly. I think our defense has been fantastic this season. I think yours has been relatively similar, right?
Yes, it
Um,
has.
yeah, so there you go. I think in that case, it's going to take something of real quality to win the game. Um, Either a team pulling that defense apart and forcing them into a mistake, or the goal we scored against West Brom was a great chip from 25 yards.
Mm,
So it's going to be one of those games. I think if someone scores early, it could be a goal fest, but
yeah.
it it's going to be an interesting game. It really is. I'm looking forward to it. As I say, on TV, and I live probably an hour and a half away from Stoke, but I'm still going because I'm that excited for
Yeah.
this game.
What would you say your key weaknesses are?
Oh, I would say probably twofold. I'd say one is more on a managerial club level, and one is on a player level. The player level, I think I alluded to it before, poor finishing. I think
Mhm.
some of our play like we should be scoring more goals than we are.
Yeah,
Which is strange because we've scored some absolute worldies this season. Ones that we definitely shouldn't have scored. Some amazing free kicks, some great chips. Um, but then that's evened out by the fact that we've missed so many from the likes of 6 yards out and penalties. We've missed all our penalties this season, and it's just so frustrating from that point of view. A battering is coming for somebody. It really is. I don't know what it is, but it's on the way. Um, So I would say that if we want to be where you are, for example, we need to be putting more of our chances away, be more clinical. And I think the other problem we have is that on a more managerial club level, and this has been with us for years, it's more the case of when we fall behind, and I think we've only
Mhm.
done this once this season, when we fall behind, do we have the mental strength to come back and win the game? Sometimes we do. It's happened on a very rare occasion, but over the last few years, often once we go down, our heads go down as well, and that's usually it. Um, I've seen better signs this season,
Mm.
but we got beaten by teams like Fulham, and despite being positive, they were just so much better than us ever since they scored. And I think sometimes it's not a case of caring; it's just a case of self confidence. I think we're getting better in that regard, but again, we're going to be behind this season. If teams like you score early, we're going to have to come back from that. I need to be proved to myself as a fan that we need to have that trait of being able to come back from when we're down to be able to be up there this season.
And of course, you alluded to that you've got Sam Surridge on your books there at Stoke. Um, how has he done? I know that you mentioned about the Barnsley game. He missed quite a few. And to be fair, he did a decent job with ourselves. I don't think he really got much of a run in the side, to be fair. He did very, very well at Swansea when he was there as well. But how has he done for Stoke?
He started very well, I must admit. I think he got 2 goals in 2 games, and then it's not just the Barnsley game. He's missed sitters in basically every other game he's played. I think his attacking positioning is one of the best we have at Stoke.
Mm.
He's definitely got the mental part up here, and he works hard too. And we really appreciate that as Stoke fans. Of course, you do. But in terms of his finishing, it whether it's just confidence or whether it is just the fact that he's not good in those situations. Um, it, it's not what we need right now anyway. Um, he's not getting that run he probably needed at Bournemouth at the moment at Stoke because Nick Powell's playing up front for us at the moment, who I think has 5 goals in 6 or 7 starts.
Yeah.
Um, and because of that, Surridge, I'm sure if he was scoring, he'd be up front and Powell would be in midfield. That'd make sense, but at the moment, it's hard to justify starting Sam Surridge at the moment because if if we have a golden chance, we want it to fall to somebody else at the moment. That's a shame to say. He'll get his
Yeah.
chance. I'm sure we've got cup games and midweeks coming up, but at the moment, he's certainly knocked himself down the pecking order with a few misses this season.
Do you think because he knows our club, he might get the nod though on Tuesday night?
Partially, because I guess it was a recent departure, so I don't think that's unreasonable. Um, I also think for the sake of rotation, someone like Jacob Brown, who's been playing up front, has been working so
Mm.
hard up front. Your backline is going to be pressurized by him hugely. If you come
Yeah.
away with that, fine, but he will work hard and he will press. Um, he also scored in the last game, and Nick Powell has been playing really well as well. So it's hard to justify taking them two out the starting lineup unless they're not match fit. So I think there's an opportunity for Surridge there for sure.
And do tell us a bit more about this Stoke team, Ben.
It's difficult because I often don't know what we are at times. We change depending on our opposition to some extent. We always play through at the back. We always seem to have a good, strong defence that often negates the attack before it's even started with players like Harry Suter, who heads the balls away with his height and his presence. Um, People like Tommy Smith and Josh Tyrone have been excellent with their interceptions this season. Again, often we keep teams quiet because they don't enter our final third in the first place. When they do, sometimes we look a little bit shaky. But then we've got a good goalkeeper, good couple of goalkeepers actually behind us. Midfield has been imperious in some games and missing in others. I think it was a tale of two halves against Sheffield United, and once the midfield really stepped up against them, first half they were terrible. We got walked over. Second half they stepped up, and we were great that second half. It's a shame we lost in the end. Um, And then the forward line, again, I've mentioned it before. We're probably scoring the chances that we shouldn't be, and we're not scoring the chances that we really, really, really should be. And it's leading to frustration, but it's a good kind of frustration because, of course, of where we are. We could be in a much worse position. I think if we were down the bottom of the table, we'd be raging. But I think it's more of a case for the moment what could be the teams we really could and should have beat this season. And that's it. It's such a much better atmosphere about the club amongst the fans than it has been, and I think that helps the players too. Often fans in the past have been impatient, not wanting us to pass around the back. The Stoke team is doing that now, and it's bearing fruit. And I think fans are reacclimatizing, readjusting to Michael O'Neill's style of football, which can be accused of being direct at times, but sometimes I think we've been labelled by the second tier podcast as sexy Stoke, which you wouldn't have associated with us with that 10 years ago, would you? So
No, it was the Pulis
interesting.
long ball, wasn't it?
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Yeah.
But since the Stoke Alona days under Mark Hughes, I think we've tried to abandon that tag as much as possible.
Yeah, it worked though for so long, didn't it? The Pulis long ball and Tony Pulis,
Rory
Cherries
Delap
legends.
throw-ins. We'll never forget that. It got us promoted. It got us to an FA Cup
Yeah.
final. It got us to European football. It's one of those things like a Millwall. We love to be hated in that regard.
Yeah. So of course you mentioned about the Sheffield United defeat. How do we hurt Stoke? Because of course we're unbeaten. The pressure is probably on us to actually keep that run going. How do we hurt Stoke?
There's three types of occasions that we've conceded this season. One was the Sheffield United type where they sort of slowly pulled us apart, being patient, and if you can get possession off us, keeping it and, drawing us out, because our shape is good for the majority of the time, but if you can get us where our fullback is missing, our wing back is missing rather, and all the defenders sort of swing round to cover him, then that can cause problems. Two would be a set piece. We've not seemed to be dealing extremely well with set pieces, or maybe that's just a ratio of goals we're conceding. We've not conceded many, and those that we have conceded are set pieces. But on the whole, we look good. It's only when we let the ball bounce in the box when maybe Sutar misses it, and we've often conceded a stupid scramble, or the goalkeepers come out for no reason and miss the ball, and it's an open goal. And the other type of goal that we've conceded is a wonder goal. Genuinely, we've conceded some absolutely fantastic goals this season. And again, it's just a dagger in the heart of Stoke fans. Where were these goals against other teams around us? So, yeah, I'd say they're the type of goals that you're going to have to pull off if you're going to hurt us, yeah.
And to be fair, we can pull them off like Sumira did yesterday with that fantastic second goal against Bristol City. But I ask everybody this, and to be honest, I don't think you're going to bet against your own side here. How do you think it's going to go?
Don't be wrong, I am nervous in a sense because I know how good you are, and you've proved that this season. And like you just mentioned, there are ways in which I think you can beat us, and I wouldn't be surprised if you did so. But I think the way that we've been, particularly at home, and the confidence that we're on right now, and there may be a slight whisper that Tyrese Campbell may be on the bench. I don't think he'll come on even, but even after a year out, one of the league's best forward being back on our bench would give us such a morale boost that it could be great timing for us. And I wonder, because he wasn't on the bench against Sheffield United away, I wonder whether Michael O'Neill's been waiting for a home game to really lift us, and this could be that time. So I'm confident in this Stoke team, and I'm gonna go with a 2-1 victory. I can't see past the Stoke win at the moment, even though I am wary of you guys, and I wouldn't be surprised. But in this sense, I can't bet against my own team. We are playing too well at the moment.
I'll be perfectly honest. This is the sort of game where I think we'll have to be happy with a point. and to keep that run going, where we're undefeated. But I think we have to be happy with a point against Stoke away.
I think we will be too, to be fair. I think we will be happy with a
Mm,
point. You know, we're both up there this season, where
yeah,
perhaps we were inconsistent last season. I remember sort of this time last season, we were again pushing towards playoffs like you were, but we were very inconsistent. I think we both stepped up this season in a way that we're both really happy with.
to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if you do inflict our first defeat on us, though.
It'd be
That
interesting.
is saying
It'd be
something.
interesting. We've done it once before. We could do
Yeah.
it again.
Well, hopefully not. Hopefully not. But I'm going to probably go for a 1-1. I think we'll score. I think we'll probably score first, but I think you'll come back. And I think it'll be very, very edgy at the end. I think definitely very, very edgy at the end. And a bit like I did see that West Brom game. At that point, I've said from the start of the season I thought West Brom would win the league. However, you really put them to bed during that game, and I personally think this is a dangerous, dangerous game for us. What would you, looking towards the end of the season, based on your current form, do you think you could make those top two?
No. I say that because Stoke are consistently inconsistent. That's how I would describe them to anybody that doesn't know who Stoke City are. We are going to have a rough patch this season. I have no doubt about that. There's going to be somebody banned. We're going to have a tricky set of fixtures. We have got a tricky set of fixtures at the moment, actually, and this is a prime opportunity for us to slip not too far down the table. But this could be a morale crushing month for us up until the next international break. There is potential for that. I can't see us getting top two because, as I say, we need the two traits of being more clinical and being able to come back from behind. If we can prove that we can do those things, fine. I will hope for top two, but I think the best we can hope for at the moment is top six, and we're not even clear of that at the moment. It's hard at this point in the season to say that you could be, a few points clear in the top six, but I'm hesitant. I really am. I think teams like you definitely have more of a chance. You seem to be more consistent, have good goal scorers up front. I think we're lacking that at the moment. Tyrese Campbell may come and change things. Depends how he comes back as well.
Where do you think we'll finish?
I think on the run you're going, you're extremely consistent, and I think top two should be where you finish. Of course, the season can change, particularly after a January transfer window. You don't know what teams like West Brom are going to do, knowing that Ishmael's a new manager, and he will want to add more players of the type of player that he wants. Sheffield United the same, who are picking themselves up after a bad start. Fulham as well are surely going to want to make some changes. All of those clubs have come down with a lot of money, as have you guys the previous season. But I think January could be pivotal.
Yeah. To be fair, I think, if we can get through this month unscathed, because we've got yourselves, we've got Huddersfield, who've started very, very well, and we've got Reading that have picked up and are on a good run of form. I think we could really, really make a challenge, not just to finish in the top two, but for the title as well now. So it's getting exciting down here. But finally, do tell us, for anybody who does want to watch the YYY-Files, how can they find it?
Okay, so if you want to hear the ramblings of Stoke City fans talk about how they became Stoke fans and their favourite game and their favourite 11 and what it means to be a Stoke fan, search in Stoke City stories on Google, and that will probably come up with the YYY-Files. We are on social media at the YYY-Files as well.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this opposition preview, Ben. All the very best for the rest of the season after Tuesday, of course.
Of course.
On that wet, windy night at Stoke. It had to be a Tuesday, didn't it?
And it had to be on Sky. Like I say, one of us is going to get embarrassed. I can see it now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, thank you so much, mate. And all the very, very best after Tuesday.
Yeah, and you. Thank you. See you later.
Cheers, mate. Take care. And thank you, everybody, for joining me on this opposition preview show. Do remember to hit the like, the subscribe, and the bell button to be alerted to any new videos that we do here on Up the Cherries in all departments. Please do also remember to check out our previous opposition preview show. I know the game has gone, but it's got some really vital information about her game too. Also, do check out the interview with Beth, including the psychology of goalkeeping, which is just so interesting. But until the next one, up the cherries, and I'll see you then.